Hey guys, and welcome to iPad. Now, this lesson is awesome if you like to know if people are lying to you or where they're getting their information from. So, eye patterns tell us how people store their memories and how they're accessing that stored information. By watching someone's eye movements, we're able to accurately access if they're seeing a picture, hearing something, recalling a feeling, or talking with themselves. This is very important information when building rapport, when selling, and for overall communication. I love eye patterns, I just gotta say. It's so interesting to watch. As you'll see in the next lesson after this, when we do the exercise with Amy, it's so interesting to watch where people's eyes go. The representation will be delivered through their words and their predicates. So here are the eye positions. So this is looking at it from another person. So now I'm going to say this is my left hand side given the camera and its rotation bit, and this is right. So up to the top left, here we have constructed images. So they're visualizing or constructing something, or they're visually lying. So if you ask someone to remember something and they look up to their left, keep in mind that this is my left hand side, they're visually constructing something, rather than if they go over to their right hand side upwards, they're remembering an image. So these are visually remembered images. Now the same too with auditory. So over to the left is auditory construct, constructing sounds. Does it sound right? Thinking about two sounds intermingled at one time, that's where they'd be going. Or thinking about how someone would sound or say something. And auditory remembering sounds. Now you might have remembered when I was talking about Richard Nixon. His shifty eyes. He's accessing this. How does that sound? How would it sound? How do I remember something similar sounding before? Because he was an auditory person. Yeah, and so remembering how someone sounds or what someone said, or like a song, you'd be over to your right hand side. Now down into the left hand side, this is my left, we're kinesthetic. We're checking out feelings. How does something feel? Now, I mean, that can be too. How does something literally feel? Remember the feel of something. But it can also be emotional stuff. So think about when people get yelled at or something, they dwindle down. Their eyes tend to dwindle down and stuff. So they're sinking into that sad feeling. Now, this too is important with exams. Look up. Try and look up and right. So as you hold your test paper, before you start going through it, try and have it up to your right hand side. This is my right hand side. As much as you can, as you're reading the questions, to start remembering things. The last thing you want to do is to have it down here and sink into the feelings, the anxieties and everything else that you're feeling for that test. Then over to the bottom right hand side, internal dialogue. So talking with yourself, that logical part of your brain. While straight ahead can be visualization as well. As well as, I've seen in other bits, internal dialogue. Now we've got some questions to elicit eye patterns. Now these will be in the example in the next lesson as well. But by eliciting eye patterns, we understand if the person we're working with is normally organized or reverse organized. It's important that you look directly at the person while asking the questions, as their eye movements will occur very rapidly. Now, if you ask a multifaceted sort of question, they may dart around a little bit all over the place, accessing different parts of information. Note, at times a person's eye may not go directly to the exact location. Now, this can be for many reasons. For example, if I was to ask, what question would you ask Trump? Which is an auditory construct. And the person's eyes went to visual recall, so they're recalling the image of Trump. Audio digital, so they're thinking about Trump. What question would I ask him? And then to kinesthetic, getting the feelings about how they feel about Trump. Then to audio construct, visual recall, and then back to audio construct. What's happening in their mind? That's what I'd ask him. That's what he looks like. So what sort of reaction would he have? And then I'd ask him again. So that's the sort of thing that can happen when asking a multifaceted question. So visual recall questions. Recalling an image or picture, so they should be looking up to their top right. Who were the first 5 people that you saw this morning? How many windows do you have in your home? Imagine your lounge room. What colour is the interior? And can you remember your first day at school? Now, if you want visual construct questions, so this is making up or creating a picture or image. Imagine what you would look like with purple hair. Imagine the top half of a bird on the bottom half of a dog. Now imagine your favourite outfit if it was covered in spaghetti sauce. So we're constructing those images, getting them to imagine things. So it is important to note too that reverse organise will be just that their eyes flick over. So rather than going up to their top left, they'll go to their top right for visual construct. So everything's just flipped from that image before. Auditory recall questions, so remembering sounds of voices. Internally, listen to your favourite song. Imagine the sound of fingernails on a chalkboard, which just gave me a bit of a heebie-jeebie. How does your car engine sound? Now, notice too there that's your car engine, which you should know the sound of if you own a car. Not how does a McLaren engine sound? What does a Tesla sound like as it starts up? Unless you own a Tesla. But it's something about yours. Or what sound reminds you of ice cream? Now our auditory construct questions, creating and imagining new sounds. Imagine what I would sound like with Donald Duck's voice. Now imagine the sound of a saxophone and a cement truck at the same time. So getting them to imagine 2 things together or something different. Like what question would you ask Trump? What would his response be like? Or even what would Trump sound like as a total clown? Probably the same. Now kinesthetic questions, our feelings, emotions or sensations. So imagine the feeling of snow in your hand. When was the last time you touched a cooking utensil? A hot cooking utensil? How would it feel if a bowling ball dropped on your toe? And feel the love you have for the person you love the most. So you can go into the emotional stuff. What's the saddest memory you have? What's the happiest memory you have? Those sort of things as well. Getting into the more emotional side of things. And finishing up with our auditory digital questions. So the internal talk, the dialogue and the self-conversation. Internally, what are the words to your favourite song? Now noting here too that we did say something about your favourite bit of music. Tune is a creative part, so that is where the auditory bit comes in. The words are a logical part. So here, that's why they're in the auditory digital. You might go there first before you go down to auditory digital. So you might go to auditory remember before you go to auditory digital to get the music, to get the words singing. Take a moment to listen to the sound of your inner voice. And what did you eat for lunch or dinner? But anyway, guys, to see this more in motion, I'm not thinking about these questions at the moment, but I got Amy to do it and I didn't word her up on what we were doing at all. I just filmed her face, eliciting those eye patterns. So, Amy doesn't know the questions that are coming, and we're just going to have a look at her natural response. She has been worded up just to keep facing the camera, but let her eyes go where they need to go. So, question 1. Imagine your lounge room. What is the interior colour? Excellent. Good. Okay, and question 2. Imagine what you would look like with purple hair. Okay, even that. Okay, question 3. Internally, listen to your favourite song. Have you got a favourite song?
No.
Okay.
Probably where it's really hard.
Excellent. That's good. That's good. How does your car's engine sound?
Oh, horrible.
Yep. Cool.
Sorry, I shouldn't look at you.
Okay. Now imagine what I would sound like with a Donald Duck voice. Don't look at me. Okay, can you imagine that?
Not really.
That's okay. So then I want you to imagine the sound of a saxophone and a cement truck at the same time. Okay. Okay. Now, I want you to imagine the feeling of snow in your hands.
I really don't know where I'm meant to be looking.
That's okay, that's okay, that's okay. Now, how would it feel if a bowling ball dropped on your toe? Okay. Now, what do you want to eat for lunch tomorrow?
Something healthy.
Good. Okay. What do you want to eat for lunch or dinner tonight?
Preferably, again, something healthy.
Yep. Now, what question would you ask Donald Trump?
I don't know.
Okay. So, as you can see, most of the time our eyes went where they were supposed to go. But to having a reference for what we're asking helps in this situation. So for some of them you'll realise that Amy didn't know. Like for instance her favourite song. So she went up into recalling visually her favourite song. But seeing as that found nothing, she wasn't actually able to go over to auditory remember for that favourite song. And it's about, like I said in the last lesson, where the eyes end is where you're looking at. Because maybe they do have to visually recall something or visually create something before you can get to where you're after. And the last one on that audio digital was very interesting to see how much Amy dipped down into the kinesthetic, the feeling of what to eat, rather than thinking about how it is. And that's part of Amy as well. She's very much more in touch with her feelings than she would be to overanalyze or think of anything like that. But anyway, guys, that is a simple look at eliciting those eye patterns. And that's it for this lesson. I will see you in the next one.